I'll just turn straight round left onto 150 when I go overhead then.
Yeah.
Captain Whelan, unfamiliar with this route and confused by the late and unexpected instruction to go into a holding pattern which doesn't appear on any of his charts, is about to make a catastrophic mistake. He's turning left onto a heading of 150 degrees, believing that's what the controller told him to do. It's an area of high mountains where the minimum safe height is 14,500 feet. The Dan airplane is flying at 6,000 feet. There is 1 minute, 6 seconds to the crash.
Bloody strange hold, isn't it?
It doesn't parallel with the runway or anything.
The crew are growing uneasy. They're getting lost. But still, no one queries the controller's instruction.
It's that way, isn't it?
That is a 3, isn't it? That is a 3, isn't it?
Yes. Well, the hole's going to be there, isn't it?
Danair 1008, reclaim 5,000 on the Quebec Foxtrot Echo and Quebec November Hotel.
Roger, clear down to 5,000 feet on the 1013, Danair 1008.
Cameen has now allowed the aircraft to descend another 1,000 feet, believing it to be out over the sea on his improvised holding pattern. Without radar, he has no way of knowing that the plane is in the middle of the mountains. Suddenly, Captain Whelan becomes uneasy.
Hey, did he say it was 150 inbound?
Inbound, yeah.
Oh, that's...
Compact Lloyd 542, are you ready?
I don't like that.
They want us to keep going more round, don't they?
The automatic ground alarm begins.
Okay. Overshoot. He's taking us round to the high ground.
Yeah.
Watch my EPAs.
I suggest a heading of 122, actually, and, well, take us through the overshoot.
Let's get out of here.
He's taking us round to the high ground.
Yeah.
In a desperate attempt to avoid the mountain, Whelan flips out of his left turn into a steep right turn. The Spanish investigators say this one maneuver loses 330 feet and destroys any chance of escape.
Danair 1008, we've had a ground proximity warning.
From their reconstruction, the Spanish investigators produced this report, still unpublished. Although it does admit a minor error by the Spanish air traffic controller, it lays almost all of the responsibility on the captain and crew. The report concludes, the captain did not follow the right route after passing the beacon and did not know his exact position. As the holding pattern was unpublished, the information given by approach control was incomplete. The crew had little time to assimilate the information given for the holding pattern, and though it wasn't understood, they did not query it or request clarification. The captain ought to have given more attention to his navigation in order to maintain the correct altitude in terrain which was not controlled by radar. And the co-pilot did not check or ask the captain about the operation that was taking place in accordance with his company manual. And because of this, the necessary teamwork did not take place. Out of 5 conclusions, 4 blame the captain and crew. British investigators claim the Spanish have chosen to attack the pilot and the crew because dead men tell no tales. This report, they say, amounts to an effective whitewash of the air traffic controllers. What should have been a purely technical investigation is now a matter of international politics.
Well, it's fairly obvious that whoever wrote the conclusions had very little idea of what a professional operation's about, up to the point that the air traffic controller gave his odd clearance. The flight was a normal, well-organised, clear-cut professional operation. And how anybody can criticise that, I really don't know.
The impartiality of the Spanish investigators had already been seriously questioned after their report into another accident in Tenerife 4 years ago. Then, too, their report had blamed the pilot. Now another behind-the-scenes row broke out as the Spanish prepared a report which would largely exonerate their own air traffic controller. The head of the British Accident Investigation Branch telephoned a colleague in Madrid to stress his worries. The call was taped.
I'm going to have difficulty holding off Prime Minister on Monday, whilst you're trying to get... You have the very difficult task, I know, trying to persuade them to say something. But what I will not do is propose that Prime Minister should make a statement in the House which accepts all the wrongdoing on the part of the pilot and does not accept any wrongdoing on the part of the air traffic people.
The British believe there was one critical moment, one air traffic instruction, which finally took the Dan Air plane into the mountainside.
Roger, the standard holding overhead Foxtrot Papa is inbound heading 150. Turn to the left. Call you back shortly.
Heading to the Fox.
This instruction was so confusing and contradictory within itself that it was, say the British, a major cause of the accident. The crew were clearly mystified by it.
Dan Air 1008.
Inbound 150 to your left.
150 left, yeah.
The Spanish admit the words used.
It's an odd sort of one.
But what did he say? Did he say turn or did he say turns?
Él dijo turn.
He said turn in the singular.
Giro.
And that was his mistake, wasn't it?
No. When it comes to aeronautical instructions, the crew repeat the information given to make sure there's no mistake in pronunciation or understanding or communication.
O un fallo de comunicaciones.
So the crew repeat the information and control then confirms it if it is correct or corrects them if there's anything wrong. The crew did not repeat their instruction.
A lot of us have tried to make sense of that. There isn't any real way of doing it. And we believe that the crew took out of that curious clearance the one bit that they understood, which would turn to the left, and they decided that the thing to do was to go to the Foxtrot Papa and turn to the left to enter the hold. And we believe that that's what they did in the expectation that they could sort the rest of it out afterwards. As I'd said before, we've talked to psychologists on this one, and that is the sort of thing you get when you get a message which apparently makes sense but actually doesn't. You take the piece which you know you understand, and you take that first, and then sort the rest out afterwards. We believe that's what they were trying to do.
Why was he put into an unpublished holding pattern?
He wasn't put into it. At no point did the controller put the plane into a holding pattern. He gave the pilot information about a pattern in case it was needed. It was the plane which went into a holding pattern.
There's no question in your view but that this was an air traffic control accident.
Almost entirely. Until air traffic control interfered with a non-standard clearance, this was an absolutely straightforward operation, and it was going beautifully.
But isn't it the case that in failing to realise that there were two planes extremely close together, in failing to put the Dan Air flight into a published holding pattern, in putting it into an unpublished holding pattern, in giving contradictory instructions, 150 degrees inbound, turn to the left, in clearing it down to 5,000 feet, that the air traffic controller, in fact, put that Dan Air flight in a situation from which it was extremely difficult to recover?
No, I don't agree with that at all. The pilot is responsible for flying the plane, and he must know the capabilities of his aircraft. He should know the path on which the plane is flying. So even if the instructions had been wrong, the accident shouldn't have happened. The captain shouldn't have entered the 14,500-foot zone and flown on a path which was not at all like the information he was given.
This is a highly experienced crew. All three of them were confused by that instruction. And it seems to us that if an instruction is as confusing as that, it should never have been issued.